we call our meeting to order. It's 12:39. Roll call. Mrs. Newman. Here. Ms. Mojica. Ms. Colacias. Ms. Kaysen. Ms. Bandun. Ms. Vicente.
Here.
Ms. Cavazos.
Present.
Two classes.
Sorry, Cavazos Ramirez. Ms. Trevino.
Present.
Dr. Landecker.
She's on her
Ms. Cavazos. Ms. Cuellazo.
way. Not here.
And Ms. Rangel.
Here.
And Mr. Gonzalez.
And you have a corner.
Yes, we have it. Any citizen comments? Do you have any citizen?
No citizen comments.
Okay, so moved. So approval of the minutes of July 26, 2018.
A motion, we approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay. Motion.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Dr. Wilmot.
Hi, y'all.
Hi.
Nice to meet y'all.
Great.
Come on in.
She's gonna be our new veterinarian.
Good luck. Nice to feel appreciated. I just paid off their animal for you guys at no charge last week.
You good? Yes.
Okay.
We appreciate it, Dr. Landecker.
Sometimes it doesn't feel like I'll tell you, I'm really considering not being on this thing. I'll be honest with you guys.
I think we need to just, I guess maybe bring her up to speed about, we're recording everything.
So now,
Yes. No, I
yes.
understand that, have no problem
yes, everything
saying
is,
what I said.
yes, we have both cameras going on right now. And for the record, Dr. Linebecker is here, and Dr. Wong.
We just approved the minutes.
Okay, I read them and I also.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Linebecker.
So we move update of the TNR and SNR program. Well, I spoke to Catherine from the Best Friend Society, and we're trying to do the setup date for September with Dr. Jefferson from Pets Alive, and from Best Friend Society, the coordinator or the director of the program itself, the TNR.
Okay,
So
y'all doing that through Best Friends for Life?
well, we're gonna do the workshop through.
Are we testing for feline leukemia, feline AIDS?
Well, we're gonna talk, the workshop will talk about all that.
Discuss it.
Yeah, those, yeah. As soon as we have a date set, I know they're trying to get another vet, and, so we can discuss everything, on the TNR.
What's the date on that?
We still don't have a date, she's still trying to get, Dr. Jefferson, because I know she's, out in, doing, I don't know, she mentioned Africa or somewhere, you know, that
Someplace fun.
she's trying to get Dr. Jefferson on board, and, so they're trying to work with everyone's schedule to, I don't know if they're gonna be able to come, or we're gonna go into like,
Like
Video
a video conference.
And I can send Dr. Jefferson an email
Okay,
if needed. We can go ahead and reach out to her as well.
okay.
Wasn't the city, didn't the city vote, or they were about to vote on this?
The TNR and SNR program, I know that Ms. Kazan had mentioned that we had already taken it to council. I did do some research and I went back and checked the notes. The only thing that went to council was an introductory ordinance, which wasn't attached to the minutes from what I found, and this was back in May of 2016.
Oh.
So it did go to council, it was introduced, so council did approve to move forward with the TNR program. But nothing was actually, the ordinance was not, created at that time, and so there was no final reading to actually enforce it at that time, so that's what we can go ahead and do now. This is what we're gonna be doing from here forward.
Okay.
But they they were supporting it at the time, back in 2016, the council went ahead and supported the program. And with TNR, if I can go ahead and add just some more information, we were brainstorming here at the shelter. So we were trying to see, I know we do have a lot of opposition from the citizens. So one idea that was brought to us that we were discussing was having bodega cats and approaching the corner stores and downtown merchants, because they do this in New York, so this is something that we want to try here and maybe start it off that way.
You
Yes.
say you have a lot of opposition? Of what
From some of
kind
the citizens,
what kind of
they don't want them,
opposition?
we don't have full support, they don't want them in their neighborhoods because then they go to their houses. So we do have to work on the
barn cat,
education.
The feral
The
cats.
yes,
The barn cat program, the way we have it, the barn.
What she's saying is that the opposition is to allowing release of the feral cats back
Mhm.
into the
their neighborhoods.
neighborhoods.
So we're thinking of having one, bodega cats, and two, the barn cat program here too, as well. But, and reach out to the ranchers. We wanna reach out to all the ranchers and go to the feed stores and maybe have adoption events there, because we have been approached.
When you say you have opposition, how did you receive this
We
opposition?
get a lot of opposition, like with calls that we get, with the calls that we get for traps, we do have a lot of trap requests. We do have a lot of calls from citizens complaining for those cat advocates that we have. We do end up getting a lot of complaints, and we do have to go out there and just make sure everybody is in
Are we
compliance.
keeping any, information as to what areas of town?
Yes, we have
these
all that
come
locked in. In our Shelter Pro system,
from?
all of those comments are kept together, so we do have everything recorded.
Is it like certain
documented.
areas of town, or?
It's all over.
Can you share that with us?
We can go ahead and provide it for the next meeting.
Okay.
We can go ahead and provide that.
But
Come on, please.
I'm just wondering if it's explained to the public at large that if they weren't trapped and then spayed or neutered, they'd be in that neighborhood anyway, just not spayed or neutered.
I think that's the problem.
I think
Well-
what they want is pick them up, take them away, and never bring them
Yeah,
back.
euthanize,
That's right.
exactly.
I see it.
They don't want them in their neighborhoods.
Well, and the problem is when you're doing TNR or SNR, you are aiding them in not, repopulating
Yeah.
and
Yes.
reproducing and.
So we plan to do a lot of education. We plan to do a lot of education. So with education right now, we are doing a lot of responsible pet ownership presentations. We have presentations scheduled every week with the elementary schools. So we are targeting the younger kids, and that way they can go ahead and share this information with their parents. We do have some presentations actually starting tomorrow.
People don't, I think we maybe can compare it to saying, I don't want birds in my backyard, and guess what, the birds are there.
Yeah.
Sterilized birds.
So
you
you
won't
won't
have
have
it. You know, you can't get rid of them, watches, possums.
Yes, feral cats, they're gonna
They're
be
there
there anyway.
everywhere.
What do they eat, the feral cats? Is there like another
Birds,
benefit, like
birds,
eating dead
rats,
animals?
rodents.
There were
Okay, rats,
Lots
mice,
of
exactly.
Lizards.
They keep the rodents away.
Yes, they keep the rodents away, that's another good
Yeah,
reason.
we try to promote the working, we call it working
The
cats.
working cats.
We call it working cats, and we try to promote them that way, where they work full-time,
Yeah,
and it's to control the
yeah.
want.
But you control the population as well through this type of program. And I think that it might be a good thing if either through, the national organization of Best Friends for Life or something like that, we could get some videos that we could maybe put on the city website, a link to that video or something so that people are educated, because you really can't through town halls or whatever
No.
hit everybody, So, any method that we can of educating the public helps, and a link on our website would be
TV
good.
advertisement,
Yes.
because a lot of people are not gonna get on the internet or the city and look at all that.
We have a very good relationship with the media, so they have been supporting us, and every time we go on for the Pet of the Week segments, it's Mr. Gonzalez. Every time he goes on, we do send out a different message. So we can do it that way as well. And then with PAC, they do work with us to do PSAs that have been airing on the public access channel.
Every method we can of education helps.
Definitely.
And of course, if they're bothering to call the city, they're looking up your number somewhere. Some people are going to the city website or, information or the 311. you know, whatever, you know, method we can get some of this educational information out to the public is good.
Okay, yes, definitely.
And some of the diseases that rats and mice carry,
Exactly.
hantavirus, things like that. And then you can't use fleas because cats do carry fleas, and unfortunately that's another problem. But just some of the diseases that are plague, you know, things like that that exist here in Laredo that they don't realize that the benefit of having those cats provides.
There's a lot of, I guess, I would imagine, opposition to it because the cats that are out there and are constantly reproducing is the problem. You know, and I hear it, you know, from my own family, you know, my stepson lives in an apartment complex and he says, you know, there was a, you know, mama cat, she's pregnant, she just had 4, she's pregnant again, you know, and that's the problem. You know, there's people in the complex, he says, who feed them, but it's just the continuous reproduction that is a bigger problem than just feeding them.
Sure.
So I think that we need to just get out public information every way we can.
Yes, of course.
Maybe offer options like the scarecrow, like cinnamon, you know, whatever options to,
Yeah.
you know, to keep their cats away from the yards. You know, there's options.
Yeah.
out there.
Cinnamon works?
Really?
Citrus, mothballs, citrus,
Mothballs.
like
A dog.
oranges, like
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Dog
Mike plays with them. Mike plays with them.
sprinkler system.
Cats love cinnamon and citrus, it's weird. Yeah. But yeah, that was one of the things that they told us when we went to San Antonio for some of the TNR training, because some people brought that up in the group and said, you know, there's people who don't want them back in their, you know, area or whatever. And so they said, what are some of the ways that we can tell them, okay, maybe your neighbor 2 houses down feeds them and you don't want them in your yard, so this is what you can do in your yard. And so they gave us, you know, examples of things we could do, but yeah.
If you,
We need to get the
if
word out.
you do feline age testing, that in and of itself is gonna reduce the number of cats that, number 1, are spayed and neutered,
Mhm.
and that are released drastically, believe it or not, probably by
Yes.
70%.
Mhm.
Yes, so you still have community cats, but if you.
But they're healthy.
But they're healthy ones,
Mhm.
okay? And then, you know, and I'll give you a perfect example. This morning, I had a client, she bought her mama cat, that she's been having kitties out there. She caught her 3 kittens that she had and brought them in her house. She has 2 cats of her own, they're over 10 years old. She's been feeding these kitties and keeping them tame, letting mom come, trying to get mom to calm down. Mom's been finally coming in and out of the house. She got mom tame, the 3 kitties tame. She had homes for 2 of the kitties. The 3rd one she was working on, she brought mama cat to get spayed. AIDS positive. And her 2 10-year-old cats have been in the house with these kittens. Luckily, 10 years old, they're probably not likely to get it. She has kept them away some, but she was devastated. We put them all down. I told her it was her choice. The mama cat for sure, because she can't go back out and expose. The kitties can live inside. If they give them to somebody that knows that they have a problem, keep them up to date on their vaccines, keep them away from everything else, and keep them indoors only, but she opted to put them down.
We did give her the option, but
Yeah. But unfortunately too, that tells me that there's all the other stray cats in that area are probably gonna be positive as well.
if you've never seen a cat dying from one of those diseases, and I'll be like a second voice to this, they're terrible. We had one that was brought in yesterday that we didn't even test, and a Good Samaritan brought it in, and his eyes were matted closed, and so, I don't know,
It's
it's
horrible.
but
They
it's
just
worse,
waste
yeah,
away.
it's worse seeing a cat like that in the wild than anything else in the whole world. Because
Nature is
they're
not,
miserable.
nature's not.
No,
It's not
nature's
pretty.
not nice. And then when you spay, neuter, and release them, their immune system's compromised. So then, do they get infection and peritonitis and go crawl in some bush and die 3 or 4 days later after you spent the money to spay and neuter when you could have spent that money on a healthy animal? That's why
Why is their immune system compromised?
AIDS.
So they are what they sound, feline leukemia. So if you think of a person with leukemia, they're having to wear a mask, they can't go out into public certain places because the disease itself is an immunocompromised disease. Okay, so it causes you to not be able to fight off normal infection. So Dr. Linedecker has feline AIDS or feline leukemia. I don't. I'm young, older. I'm gonna fight off a cold. She's not gonna fight off a cold the same.
What does having a uterus or testicles have to do with that?
It's the incision and getting bacteria.
So, yeah,
That's
so
that has
it'd be
nothing to do
like
with it.
doing surgery on a healthy young person versus doing or surgery on a 60 to 70-year-old person.
With
Okay,
a- with
with an
The
immune
risk.
compromise, yeah, so it's being
Sure.
immune,
Yes.
exactly. That's
Yes.
only, it's not
That
that,
makes
yeah, so that's the reason for testing, because if you put a diseased cat and we spend the money to do surgery on a diseased cat, and then you let it back go in the population, you're infecting other cats, and second of all, you're putting a sick cat that could potentially get worse once you do the surgery, and then we're killing it anyway, and that's worse, you know?
And a horrible death at that.
That's
Yeah.
cruel.
And
So it
Yeah.
sucks, we don't wanna put down cats, but,
It's responsible, you're
Yeah.
being
being
responsible.
Yeah, you're
responsible.
being responsible.
And it's not that we wanna put cats down. As you
oh, it was
know,
hard this
I'm a-
morning, y'all didn't have to do it,
No,
so.
I'm a cat lover. That's
Mhm.
my favorite animal. It is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking to see this. It is heartbreaking.
So you're a big advocate that we need to test for
Because I don't
leukemia
test.
and AIDS.
To quit perpetuating the disease and reduce the
In our
chance of
community.
spreading. Yeah.
Is that what the other communities do that have this?
Some
program?
do, some don't.
And what's the rationale for not? Too
Mine.
expensive?
They don't wanna put them down.
Well, no,
It's
or-
cheaper to test than it is to spay.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to test than it is to spay. So if you have 100 cats out
For
there,
both?
if it's positive, you're not gonna spay it. So you actually save money, and that's not why we're doing it, not to save money. But if you have the money to spay 100 cats, you're only gonna end up spaying at best 50, probably 30%. And I'm gonna use Port Mansfield as a perfect example. Port Mansfield is a community of about 500 people. It's way out in the middle of nowhere on the coast. There were hundreds, I can tell you, they caught 1,000 cats. 1,000 cats just in that community, they were everywhere, people were complaining, they couldn't even let their own animals out. They ended up euthanizing, and this is in the valley shelter did this, they ended up euthanizing probably 70 to 80% of those cats and released the other remaining 200, which are perfectly healthy, they're not competing for rats and mice and food, it's a lot manageable number. So the people that are anti putting them down are mainly alley cats, and they provide a lot of funding for the TNR. Alley Cats does not want to euthanize any cat. They think no cat should be put down. The problem is, there are people that think with their heart, and that is great, we need those people, but when it comes to, the people that see these animal sufferers are the people like us that see them when you bring them in.
Sure.
Y'all trap, neuter, release a healthy cat, out of sight, out of mind. We're the ones that see an animal with a horrible, horrible disease, suffering, and then you see their kitties, goopy eyes, suffering, they can't even breathe because their noses are clogged up with green, nasty mucus. It's just not a nice thing.
Ana Laura and Sandra, I know you went to Austin, I know you studied some of this. What's your feelings on it? Is there an argument against doing that?
And we discussed that at one of our workshops,
Yeah, I
you know, and I think that if we have this workshop on the TNR, that's what Best Friends for Life and some of their vets will talk about also. That if city to city and community to community, if like Port Mansfield, 80% of your cats are sick, well, then it makes sense. But if that's not a huge problem in your community, then what Best Friends for Life and Alley Cats Allies say is, look, you know, the idea is to stop overpopulation, and if we don't have a huge prevalence of that disease, then our funds are so much. And we're gonna spend $30-40 to test, just to test, when it's gonna cost you maybe $4 to also spay and neuter, then, we're doing
I'll
half.
donate the tests. How's that?
Well, that's
I'll donate
wonderful.
all the tests.
That's wonderful,
I would
and that
rather
may
the
solve
cats,
the.
I would
Oh,
rather
but
the
only
cats
if
be
we
tested.
put them down if they're positive. I will donate all the tests.
Well, then that's an option for us in our community,
Sure.
but it depends, it's like she says, Port Mansfield had a huge problem with that. If 80% of your cats are ill, then yeah, that's a huge problem.
They didn't know they were ill. They just tested before they.
But when you
Yeah.
start testing, you
That's
get
when
the
you
gist
find
of
it.
it,
Yeah.
you
Right.
figure out that that's a
Right.
problem.
Right.
So when your funds are limited, the question, for any community becomes, okay, what's the best use of our money? If you know, you've got unlimited funds or someone's willing to donate the testing, well, great, maybe that's
Sure.
not gonna be an issue then.
Sure.
But that's what Alley Cats, Alley Cats Allies,
And Best Friends Society.
and Best Friends Society feel, you know, but every community has to make their decision based on their needs.
Yeah. And basically, that's the only thing that the workshop or the conference or, you know, that we're gonna, is just to then give us samples of different cities. You know, how the program has worked for them.
And if their problem was overpopulation and that's what they're trying to control versus disease, well, then you attack whatever problem your community is experiencing.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, so do we, we're done with, right, with TNR? Okay, update on the shelter statistics?
Okay, everybody should have a sheet that, at the last meeting, we were requested to provide a breakdown by month. So that is what we have through July. We're still not done with August, so that'll be provided at next meeting.
On the RTOs, I presume means release to owner.
Return to owner, yes.
Does the owner pay? If we pick them up and then we release it to them, do they pay?
Yes, they do pay.
Okay.
They pay the impoundment fee and then per day, the boarding fee per day, and any citations that may have been issued to them. That go through municipal court, but they do pay their fees here. And if they get the microchip, they do pay for the microchip.
What did total outcome mean?
Total outcome, that's how many, the disposition, total outcome disposition. Whether it was euthanized
Mm-hmm.
or live release.
Like a total.
That's the total.
With the low
Out of
level of these
everything.
cats just shows how much we need this program. So
Yes.
bad.
So bad.
Yeah, look at that, that's what I was.
But we do wanna do, if approved with the TNR, SNR, we do wanna move forward with, start also with the Bodega Cat program. We do
Yeah.
wanna do that.
The bodega is, you
It would
mentioned
be
the downtown.
a
this is
store,
the-
it's more of a store. They call it bodega, it's not warehouse. The term is used bodega, but it is more like a corner store.
That's what we call it, working cats.
Yeah, they're working
Because
cats.
it's whatever the business needs.
Yeah, you know, we call it, in our program, it's called the working cats,
Yeah.
24-hour,
And there's cats there in the bodega?
365.
There's cats in the bodega?
You can put them there if you need them.
Yeah,
Rodent control.
yeah, we have several warehouses or people that
Use cats for that.
yeah.
Okay.
That's how we wanna promote it.
It doesn't move that fast, but it's, you know, it's working. So hopefully we'll get more people, you know, interested on the working cats.
At, Lax had that rescues on the runway, and I was sitting next to a business owner who was telling me that they had brought in a cat to their business, and it was a garage, a pretty big garage. But he said that the customers kept stealing the cats. The cat would get real friendly with all the customers, and people would play with them while they were waiting for their cars.
Sounds like a great way for adoption. Bring
Yes.
me another one, bring me another one. bring me
The
another one.
employees kept saying, well, that's our cat, and somebody took it, and they would go look at the video from their business, and they would call the customer, that was our cat, and you need to bring it back, you know, it was so funny, I thought it was hilarious. So they said, I need another cat, and I said, well, take two, you know, just in case. But, so I introduced him to Sandra and said, hey, this gentleman needs a couple
Well,
of
if you know
working
about it, we've
cats.
got 20 cats in my office that we've, some rescues from here, kittens that we brought in with a spay the female, we promised. They're already tested, vaccinated and spayed and neutered.
What's the fee for that?
We charge $85, but they got everything.
Yeah, all
And they're
shots,
tested.
spayed, neutered, they're all negative.
Yeah, our cats too. We have you wanna know my
Do you
total?
test all your cats?
Yes, all my cats.
Confirm.
And what do you do with your positive ones?
I sometimes call.
Okay, that's fine, okay.
Feline leukemia cats can do okay, but they have to be indoor.
Well, yes, well,
No leukemia.
we had
I don't
one,
know.
Leukemia's worse.
yeah, we had one,
They're both
and
bad.
we, and it was from the city, and it was tested, because even though sometimes they're tested here, we
Retest.
retest, we always retest. So we had a positive, and, Alondra, so she was adopted,
Mhm.
and she's the only cat, but we explained everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we do the same,
and-
we give them the option, but they have to stay inside only.
Exactly.
That's tough.
So-
You know, and you have to trust the person that they're really.
And that's hard to do.
And because she was very healthy though, but she was positive, so we kind of gave her a second chance. If I would have seen that she was kind of getting sick already, you know, we have to go that other route. But our cats are fully
Good.
vaccinated, spayed and neutered, and we do 2 combos. We don't,
Good.
we go the
The
10
whole-
The full way.
Yeah, we do.
What do y'all charge?
Right now we have them at 60 because we have 150 cats. All of them fixed. And right now we have them at 60 kittens and 30 adults.
Yeah.
Because adults are
Adults are hard.
hard to
Oh, they're very hard to find.
So, while on the subject of cats, we did go out for bids for the cat house. Those are due September 2nd. So we are requesting a building 40 by 60. It's gonna be right here in place of the trailers, where the cats are currently at. So we are moving forward with that.
That's
With that
great.
request, so the cat house should be coming in.
Great.
We are moving forward on that. Bids are due on the 7th. We are making improvements here at the shelter. We do have ground leveling that's gonna be taking place. We're gonna extend the sidewalk right here. We're gonna add grass and irrigation. So that is happening soon. We already put in the
What are we
requisition.
gonna do with the,
The trailers?
no, on the other side, the isolation,
We have not gotten that far yet.
Okay.
Right now, we're
So the
focusing on the
monies
cat
that the
house.
city council approved from way back.
The
is now-
175
Is gonna be for this then?
for the cat house, yes.
Okay, and then the trailers?
The trailers are gonna be moved from there. We don't have any plans for those trailers as of yet.
Okay. What about using those instead of getting that, cause you have no air conditioning, no nothing on that far end. So I mean, I hate to waste those trailers.
Put them to
you know,
use, sure.
Put them to use, because that, what you have out there is not adequate.
And one of the trailers at least is not really safe to use.
Well, they shouldn't even have animals out there.
No, the back one, we don't have anything in there.
Yeah.
We don't have any.
I'm not saying the trailers, I'm talking about that facility that you have. that-
When we first started?
When you first started that temporary,
Yes.
you know, it's still
It's a whole-
temporary over there.
What we call the old clinic.
Is that what you call that?
Yes.
Okay. That's not
No?
cool. That needs to have something there. Either get rid of that and put the trailers there, if you're gonna build the building here, or leave the trailers here and put the building over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, we
That's
already have it in the scope to put the building right here in place of the trailers and move those trailers out, so.
Okay, but then you have to close down that other facility
Okay.
before my next inspection.
Okay. We'll look
It's
into
just
that.
too hot. I mean,
Yes,
you
it is.
walk back
Yeah.
right now, it's just unbearable hot.
Okay, so is everything for the update of the shelter staff statistic?
Well, we do have more information regarding the task force. Just to bring everybody up to speed, we do have a task force that was put together for illegal vendors on Facebook and on the streets.
Good.
So we are working on that. So as soon as we have some information, we'll go ahead and present it to the committee.
So when are they
Craigslist too.
set to begin?
They're already doing it now.
Are they?
We started now. It's,
Include Craigslist in there too.
we can do that, Craigslist.
And what success have they had so far?
Well, we have been able to get a lot of people. We've been able to catch them through our task force. Rudy, you wanna go ahead and?
We've been
Yeah.
sending staff out there, and some of them are coming over to get their permits, and some people, we have to cite them. Unfortunately, they're not in compliance, so we're moving forward with this.
Good,
And we do have our social media crew as well. So that's been working out really well for
good,
us.
yeah, because it was almost a weekly occurrence there.
Mhm.
Delmar McPherson was
Yes.
boxers, German shepherds, whatever.
Yes, and Guadalupe is a very popular location as well. The banks. It's
Yes.
a very popular location for selling.
Okay, good.
In the flea market, are they selling them at the, I
I
don't know.
have not seen any at the flea market.
It's Magdalena, like,
Oh, that one.
like every weekend, it's like there's like 4 people right there in Magdalena, like, cause when I leave to the valley, I
I
get,
go out there.
so there's always right there.
You guys are going out there, right?
Well, I'll have to work with Webb County.
Webb County, right, it's part of Webb
Yeah.
County.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, what is it just in the city, because I'm not from here, I'm from Dilley, so I'm not bad, I'm local, but is it just Laredo city limits that they have to have the permit? So like say from Zapata or something like that, they could technically come to the road on Magana Line and sell
Yes.
them, not
Yes.
just
Yes.
maybe.
Right,
We
that
don't have
won't be-
jurisdiction.
Because I'm sure Webb County doesn't have that they have to have a permit.
We would have to talk to them and see.
Okay,
what they-
see, because technically technically, by the law, they can still sell them there.
Right,
Unless
it's a city ordinance.
Yeah, so if you're not in the city limits and you're not, you know,
Outside of.
Right.
yeah, just bringing to,
Yeah.
you're fine.
Yeah.
There used to be an interlocal agreement, but apparently,
No, I broke down.
yeah, it broke down.
We don't have one current.
Where is the city limits when you're going off that direction on
Yeah, I
82?
thought Mount Anaheim was in city
How far
limits.
is that?
Yeah, it is in city limits, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is
so
it-
it's still
is
is.
it
But
the
we have
town,
to be
is it,
careful, cause the,
Yeah, well, see, I know that, I'm just saying,
is it the line, like inside is city limits, outside Maganaheim is?
Montana Heights, I believe is,
Right
right at the border, right at the edge,
Right.
and so.
Okay, so if you're on the other side of Maganaheim.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be out of my.
it's one of those real, so if you're gonna sell your puppies, go on
Yeah,
this.
my officer has to
Yes.
go and make sure where he is, and if the
South side.
GPS is,
Yes.
I'm within, the
Yeah.
address is, if not, he's gonna have to refer.
Annexation. This is where they are, let's annex it.
Yeah.
I think, oh, just another update, regarding the budget, we were approved to purchase 2 trucks for the next fiscal year, so we are gonna be replacing 2 units that we have. So we're very excited about that.
It's great.
And even though we do have a washer and dryer right now, we were approved to purchase a commercial washer and dryer. We are gonna be using funds from our fund that we currently have, so we are gonna move forward with that as soon as the building is complete, because we want it to have a laundry room. We want that building to include a laundry room in there.
Like us, you go through towers,
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable.
Any other updates?
No, that was it.
Update on the status of the veterinary services for the shelter.
We continue to work with Dr. Linebecker. Last week, it was last week, right? Last week, she was able to donate her
Everything
time.
off the list.
Yes, she was able to get us up to date on spay and neuters in just a few hours. So that was really impressive, and we're very grateful for her services for that day. Thank you so much.
I do it about twice a month.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're
We just
hopefully,
get everything off the list.
yeah, we're hopefully we'll hire another vet maybe, we're trying, it's hard to get people to come down here. So that the 2 of us can be at the office and she can come every morning, or one of the
Yes.
3 of us will like take turns coming to
She'll
volunteer.
be coming in for an interview
Yes.
next week.
Yeah.
and
We're
then-
hoping.
And on that note, since you said that regarding the veterinarian services, council did approve for the monies that are in the salary for the vet to move them over to contract veterinarian services. So that is what we are going to be working with for this year, contract.
And,
Yeah, I think eventually we want it in-house, no?
sure.
Yeah, well, for this year, this is for this budget year. This is for this budget,
So we're not gonna make any effort to try to fund something?
for next year.
I sat down and I added, talking with the veterinarian who comes down
Yeah.
after,
He's done a lot of shelter work in
Yeah.
Austin,
yes.
speaking of.
And if you took the salary that you all paid Dr. Rodriguez, the salary of the 3 technicians, but not including, how much veterinary equipment and stuff, supplies did you buy last year? What'd you spend on that?
We spent a lot of money.
About 100,000 probably, right?
Yes. a
Okay,
big
I
chunk.
did not include that $100,000, okay, I just took her salary on it and divided the number of spays and neuters that she did, you paid $400 to $500 per spay and neuter that she did here, having an on-staff veterinarian.
She had never really got going, and then she was out for a while.
Right, and
But,
that wasn't
yeah.
the only reason we hired her, there's some
Mhm.
other
Right.
reasons, other services, but I guess what I'm asking also, so how much is it costing the city to contract out for just a spay and neuter?
For just a spay and neuter, it's,
How,
how much do we pay? Maybe about, I know they
Is
were
there a
giving
set
us like
fee,
50,
or-
she's, Dr. Nyberg
I'm
has
doing
been
it
giving us
at
a
$50
discount.
a discount. I'm losing money at that. It is cheaper for me for you to hire a veterinarian, okay? I'm gonna tell you that right off the bat. But I'm also a taxpayer, like I think everybody in this room is. And I'm looking at it from a taxpayer, and I unfortunately, I wish the other clinics would jump in on
We're
board.
gonna take turns.
You know, take
a day
turns
a
for
week,
God's
or, you
sake.
know.
You know, there's enough of us, that's what we did when I was in College Station at that time, because that's been a while, is the veterinarians would take turns, and there was a bunch of us, we'd go in and take turns in doing something. If everybody do that, it would cost the city not much money.
could
You
we
know?
do that, bid
We
it out?
could do that, and we can do volunteers as well. We can do volunteers as long as we have a contract.
Can we bid it out and see if there's other ones that are willing to come in once a week?
Nobody wants to do it. Why why, they're like, why should they? There's plenty of work and they don't, why would they give their time? It's up to my passion, just like it's all of us in here, it's our passion, it's my passion, I mean, and it's hers too, she's actually working harder to allow me to come over and spend the day here to do it. And I was wore out, I will tell you.
I'll just speak for myself, I don't doubt that at all, you're wonderful about all this stuff. I look at, we have a hospital, at any moment, we have like 500 patients here, and we really need a doctor that's just assigned to this hospital.
Exactly.
It shouldn't always be Dr. Linedecker, Dr. Linedecker,
I
it's not fair
wish.
to you
I
either.
know, it's not, but I do it because I like it, okay?
No, you love animals, sure.
And you can't even find people to come down to work here, much less,
No, that's true.
you know?
We need to go with this for now, I just, long-term, you say the end of the year, the end of the fiscal year in September 30th, you know, just, the ideal, of course, is to have someone in-house that's gonna stay, not someone who's gonna be 6 months and then gone. Maybe that
When
could
you said the year, was it like this,
So you're
Twenty
talking-
eighteen, no, it's 2018, 2019.
so it's
You're talking
So
about
it's
through
October,
September of
October
next year?
1st through September 30th.
Next year.
2018, 2019.
And
We have
during,
been
during that
operating-
time, would you be looking for a full-time permanent during that?
It would have to be the recommendations of the committee and the approval of council.
I think that
That's
personally,
including full-time.
I think if somebody wanted to come down and we could solicit them,
We would back out, there's, I mean, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like, I can honestly say
Well,
that
we need
as
you.
the other
We need
vet.
you now, that's for damn
Uh,
sure.
But I will tell y'all from the young person's perspective, that just coming out of vet school in the last 2 years, nobody wants to come down here, y'all. Like, it is like pulling teeth. I have gone to 2 different, like, gathering of veterinarians. I've gone to try to, like, get students to come down.
and I
Even
think her, she's
Laredo,
doing
yeah,
both.
even Laredo kids that are in veterinary
Are not
school,
coming
they
back to
don't wanna come
Laredo.
back down here. I can't blame them. It takes a special person to wanna live down here. I love it. I don't wanna go anywhere else, but that's the hard part. Things I've told her, cause I have a lot of passion for shelter medicine too. There are clubs at the university, at A&M, if we ever get a vet school at Texas Tech, if that ever happens. They would be willing to come down, and as long as a veterinarian would supervise the students, they would do all the spays and neuters. We would have clubs that would, you know, 3rd and 4th year veterinary students that would come, and they just want the practice.
In fact, you can attest, that was
Yes.
my idea before, when this shelter was getting bid, it was my idea when they built that vet room that we have over there, to have rooms, and I actually had contacts to get veterinarians down here with a rotation through the vet school,
Where they come
And then-
spend 2 weeks, and literally, all they do is spay and
and
neuter.
I got axed. My feelings got hurt, because it was like, nope, we're gonna do, and y'all hired Dr. Rodriguez, and y'all did all that, and so, you know, my contacts are now gone, because Dr. Posey was now retired, he's not there, he was the main guy to help get it started, I had already talked to him. I'm on the board of directors, second go-around, if you will, for the Texas Veterinary Medical Association, so, I have the contacts, but I don't know, I
You'll
have to
to
start
let us
all
know.
over
Yeah.
again to do this. I don't wanna get into something, you know, and then, you know, kinda get stuck.
Wait to have your back.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we do a whole rotation, it's a required rotation in your 4th year of veterinary medicine, where you do shelter medicine. We go to Houston SPCA for 2 weeks, and we all take turns doing treatment and triage. Students are there for the whole week, they do treatment and triage when the animals are brought in, we give the vaccines in, we do the tests, because we need to practice drawing blood and this, that, whatever. And the students are also the ones, another group is doing space and neuters all day long. So that's the stuff that we need practice on in our residency here before we go into the real world like we are now.
Well, maybe
So-
that's something we could put out there like that and say, look, we're willing to fund, you know, your stay here or whatever it is. Or maybe there's retired vets who might
I
wanna
think
come
that I've
once a
told
week.
her, I've told her about Dr. Sproul. He's
Oh, he
retired, but
loves
he keeps his
doing that.
license up. He would come and supervise those students
In
in
a
a heartbeat.
He, again, also got.
He would love to have
his
somebody to
feelings
talk
Or
to.
maybe a stipend for their student loans, I mean,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, they would,
Yeah.
if they get
We
old.
could
There's
get
a
down as
program.
different alternatives, you know, submit your bid, and these are the things that the city would be willing to consider, A, B, C, D, whether whether you wanna come once a week, whether you wanna come every 2 weeks, whether you want to, you know, whether you're a program that wants to bring in students for 2 weeks at a time. And in that way, give them a break as well, but we do need somebody, we have 500 and some animals at a time, we need somebody here.
I'm trying to come at least once a week. You know what, if every veterinarian, we have Dr. Martin and his wife, we have Daniel Segovia now,
So there's
you have
three
Dr.
there.
Flores, you have Dr. Kramer, you have Dr. Alexander, you have Dr. Rodriguez, which is probably not gonna work right now. The two of us, and maybe even the next, if we hire this other young lady, it's 10 people. You know, if everybody
One
would
day
take
every-
one day,
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
every 2
Wow.
weeks, you'd
true.
have a
There's
vet
enough,
every
there's enough
day.
Something we
veterinarians.
could bid out.
You know, and there is a program, if somebody, Laredo's in it, I already applied for Laredo, for the whole city of Laredo. I have been putting in through the Texas Animal Health Commission, they have a program, it's statewide, for areas that are shortage of veterinarians. They get their whole tuition paid for, their
If they
student
sign a
loans,
contract for 5 years and they stay in the area, in the hardship area
Their
for 5 years, it's.
their
the
student
rate.
loans are erased.
Like
You see
Teach
how
for
many people,
America.
you see how many people we've gotten?
Yeah.
But a lot of it is the news media, you talk to people, the other two
Oh,
vets I
yeah.
had that left, her parents were scared to death, they thought her daughter was down here in the war zone, that was Dr. Perry. They thought she was here, that people with machine guns on the street and all this stuff, and so she said, no, you know where they went to? Houston.
Worse.
Yeah, you know that, I know that, but they watch this border wars or whatever on TV, and they see that, they literally think
But isn't
that.
the other issue on the border, especially Laredo and the Valley, I mean, we euthanize most of the intakes, you know. Houston has a much better, are they a no-kill? I know San Antonio.
Houston
No.
SPCA is not a no-kill.
No tradition.
No, in that, you're looking at it from a shelter standpoint, I'm looking at it as a veterinarian though, but we have more killed because we have more stray animals.
Oh, I know,
And
but
we
I'm just
need
saying,
animal
who
cops,
wants
to be honest with you, if I think,
Gosh,
if we had
yes.
animal cops, I think animal cops would help,
I would really.
everything we're doing here tremendously.
Things
I
that
get
would
that.
help them.
Yes.
Yes, and
That's
I
the
already-
problem.
and
They're
I went
just
to-
reproducing and nobody's taking care of them,
No.
so they run around looking for food.
And I already talked to Sheriff Martin Cuellar when he first got elected, and, he said, oh yeah, it's a great idea, and you see what happened. So I think if we put pressure, you know, we could have a JP set aside just for animal cruelty cases. Huh?
I would love that.
Yeah, I think that would be great. The way, when I go, if I see an animal, or I have people calling, oh my God, I said, I give them animal control's number, I said, call KGNS, they'll gobble it up. You call news media, because then you get the whole Laredo pressure on
Yes.
these
Sure.
people. Because one person jumping up and down and screaming doesn't work. Anyway, I'm just talking too much.
Okay, so that's the update for the veterinarian services for the shelter, right? And items for next meeting. That, the complaint areas for,
Yeah, maybe some of the complaints so that we can look at whether it's
target area, okay.
particular area people are complaining. Because honestly, there could be, you know, like in my neighborhood, and, you know, one neighbor could complain, that doesn't mean the entire neighborhood is complaining. There's people that are feeding the animals, and there's people who don't want them in their yards. So
Yeah.
we'd like to see what some of these complaints are in what areas.
Also, I guess an update of the recommendation that Dr. Linedecker asked about the buildings, right?
Mhm.
Something else, Dr. Linedecker, that you mentioned something else, I don't know. It
Maybe
was-
an update of when these people are gonna come for that workshop?
Yeah, we can,
Yeah, I'd love to be there anyway,
Yeah,
just to hear what they're
both of us.
doing.
yeah,
Yeah, both.
yeah, as soon as we have a date.
We wanna get that done.
Yes.
I do too.
I have so many people come in and they're willing, like, we'll try to help them out with discounts and stuff so they can at least get the feral cats
Yeah.
spayed and neutered, but oh my goodness, that program would be so nice.
Yes. As soon as I have a date, I'll let Clarissa know, so she can email.
Send it out.
And perhaps an update on what areas, either through public access, link on the city's or the shelter's website, and Sandra and I can look into whether BFFL or another organization, Alley Cats or somebody could provide us a link to educate people on the, pluses of not just working cats, but spay and neuter and a lot of these other things that really we
Yeah, we
reach
can-
a wider
Yeah,
audience.
we can get a Best Friends Society and,
Yeah.
I
To
think a PSA on local television is the best way to,
Yes,
you know,
and
reach
Spanish too,
yeah, because that's we need to
yes.
target.
The only other thing I'd like to have for the next meeting is just to clarify exactly where the city limit line is, certainly.
Yeah, I think that is a good.
Certainly you need to know
Yeah.
where you can and can't, you can't have officers being tentative, like, oh, can I do it or whatever.
Right.
You wanna be sure about it.
And is there a way that we can maybe get the county involved? At least they may have their differences on all the other issues in the city of Laredo, but at least on the animal problems, maybe we can, I wouldn't know how to approach it, y'all might know, to approach the county where maybe they can give a stipend. They're broke though, but everybody.
well, not according to.
The way they
But, you
say
know,
it.
but at least maybe they can get back to what we used to be with the county, because you've got Botinas is loaded with stray animals and they're pulling their hair out. Some of the, all the outer
Does
lines.
It's a
the
good
county
idea,
just
but
currently
it's
not
so
address it, or
difficult.
what does the county currently do?
No,
They work with the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
well, I can tell you, I know the two officers,
They're.
and they're not doing anything on small animal. If, for example, if,
Advice.
John Smith's dog killed, Jerry Jones's, show animals or lambs or whatever, they bring them in and they're put down in office. They don't even make an effort, they tell them they're dangerous and that's what they're doing, they're putting them down. And that's if they bother picking them up, which is about less than 1% of what the problem is out there. They maybe like to deal with the loose cattle and horses, and that's about it, they're pretty much not doing anything.
The problem is the city, illegally, a city can enact ordinances, the county only works with state law. They don't have the authority
They
to
don't.
enact ordinances. So if there's a state law, they can enforce it and
And
that's it.
that's it.
Could a contract or something to the effect where the animals, the dogs and things that they pick up be brought to, a certain distance in Webb County, be brought to Laredo Animal Care Facility for decision upon arrival? I don't know how it works,
Now, you
it's just the
can
taxes.
do an interlocal agreement.
Yeah,
They
something
can
like
pick
that,
up
so
the
that
stray.
they can pick the stray up, or they can call Rudy, or they can call y'all's guys to
Because the
come.
cities don't want money for that, and the
Exactly.
counties are
We've already
reluctant to
had
do it.
preliminary meetings on that, but I
Okay.
think it's been finalized
Okay,
as of yet, so we're still waiting.
okay, just asking, because something
see
like
what
that
they
would at
decide.
least, yeah, because it is bad when you get out. Oh.
Yeah. Especially the way people dump animals out in the
Oh,
morning.
yeah.
They take them and dump them so they don't come back.
Exactly.
At least at the shelters, they're there, but
Yeah.
it's just take them out and dump them and goodbye.
The other thing that's been brought to my attention is all the local housing authorities, the low income, there's some here like on, is it,
Gale. the
Gale
Gale
and
some-
Springfield, there's one on Santa Maria, you know which ones I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The housing.
Apparently, they were allowing them to have one pet. I even told the city, I said, I will give them free rabies shots so they can keep their pets. Now they're not letting them keep any pets, so they're opening the doors and throwing them out on the street.
My understanding, because we've been getting a lot of,
Cats?
a lot of people from the housing for vouchers at, labs. And apparently from what I've heard from people going, is that they're allowing one animal, but they have to be spayed. Or
Well, I haven't gotten not one single person
No?
from the housing
Okay.
coming to me yet.
Yeah, we've been getting a couple,
Let's at least find out, I mean, it's worth
Yeah,
asking
so
to
maybe
see
like,
what the,
yeah, that would
what
be
the
a good
rule
idea.
is.
See what the policy is, yes,
Yeah.
the current policy.
Follow, yeah.
I think that whole organization's in an uproar right now.
There was a time where we were receiving a lot of surrenders.
Yes, they were having,
In the housing authority because they were no longer allowed to have not one pet.
yes, and then they change it back to letting them keep one, I don't know,
We
they
don't
probably had
know.
a
We've been
fit.
receiving calls as well asking, but
Yeah,
since we
I-
don't have any authority on that.
It's just recent, just recent, and we had a client that brought in that dog with a
Yeah.
kennel. last week, and they live not too far from the one over here on Gale in Springfield. Dog in the lot looked like, we don't really know exactly, attacked by a bunch of other dogs, maybe snakes dead. It was a really bad, we ended up, gave the dog, he paid to have, gave the dog like 48 hours on IVs, and we just,
She didn't do well.
no, we ended up having to put her down, but we think that she might have been one of those that they threw out the door.
Maybe that's the reason why we're having so many strays.
And that could be,
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's something that people that live in housing, if the city, because of the shelter and through Dr. Landecker could say, look, we'll give you a discount if you spay and neuter them and you keep the animal.
I mean,
That would be
free
approved by
rabies
council.
shot, free.
Yeah.
I've yet to see anybody.
But, you know, because housing authority is a division of the city of Laredo, sort of. It's a separate
It's a
entity,
separate
but it's really sponsored by the city, you know?
Mhm.
Maybe there's a way that we could work out something, where instead of surrendering them, they get some
little program going on.
low-cost,
Because you know these
spay and neuter and
people have kids that love
vaccinations.
those animals.
We can present it to city management and council.
Mhm. And then, of course, there should be something in their contract that says that if it's an animal, regardless if it's a cat or a dog or whatever, you keep it inside, because they don't have yards, they don't have
I
fences.
think some of them do,
But it's
don't
not,
they? They're little bit, but still.
But
Yeah.
if
So
they have
dogs are
somewhere
okay
to-
in a small, like
A
3-room
little dog,
place?
chihuahua or something.
Yeah, and, you know, I know that through Section 8, they have homes they can rent, but most of them are places like some of those housing units, and they don't have their own
No.
Yeah,
yards,
they're
except
1 or
maybe
2
a little
bedroom,
tiny
that's it.
area. But something in their contract that says, look, if you're allowed to keep an animal based on whatever, one, you have to spay and neuter, you have to give us proof of that, and you have to, as part of your contract, say that the animal stays within your property and indoors.
And keep it vaccinated, you know?
Exactly, you keep that up and you, the city somehow says, okay, when we'll renew your contract, again, you know, you've got to show us proof of, you know, vaccinations and whatever.
So we have all items for the next meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's,
Do we know what our next meeting is again?
The 4th Thursday every month.
Fourth Thursday every
Which
month.
would be the 27th of September.
Who will not be there? September 27th?
it's 1:32 and
And move to adjourn?
Gladys, I second.